While I was in the hospital with a broken leg, my boyfriend posted party pics with his ex captioned "finally free from the needy drama queen." Hey everyone! Before we kick off today's video, I've got a favor to ask. We've noticed our channel isn't getting as much love lately, and subscribing is one of the easiest ways you can help us out. It's quick, free, and it means we can keep bringing you awesome content. Your support really means a lot, so let's work together to keep this channel growing. Thanks a bunch. Now, let's dive into the video. So, Richard and I had been together for 4 years, which was kind of like one of those trips where the tour guide bails halfway up the mountain, and you suddenly realize you've been lugging everyone's bags the whole way. We met at this community garden project my job was backing. I was on the compost team, and Richard was the so-called compost king. Yep, he actually called himself that. Even though that was a bit of a red flag, I found his passion for composting pretty cute. He'd go on about how breaking down stuff is just the first step to building something beautiful, and my plant-loving self was totally sold on this metaphor. Fast forward 4 years, and you'll see the only thing that got composted was my self-esteem. Richard chipped in for rent, 7 times in 4 years. My name's the only one on the lease because his credit was temporarily messed up for, the entire time we were together. About 60% of the time we were dating, he was between jobs. When he did have cash, it went straight to his gaming setup, new clothes, or nights out with his buddies. And he borrowed my car more times than he asked how my day was. But hey, I was in love, so I kept making excuses for him. He was finding himself and had potential, all that nonsense we tell ourselves when dating a man-child. Then last week, things took a turn for the worse. I got into a nasty car accident. Some fool ran a red light and smashed right into me. I ended up with a broken leg, some busted ribs, and a concussion. The doctors said it could have been worse, but trust me, it felt bad enough. Richard swung by the hospital once for all of 20 minutes. He claimed hospitals made him anxious and he needed to deal with the trauma in his own way. Mind you, it was my trauma, not his. Meanwhile, my best friend Anastasia was a rock star. She slept in one of those super uncomfortable hospital chairs for 3 nights, helped me with everything from bathroom trips to washing my hair over a tiny sink. Now that's true friendship. While I was still groggy from pain meds, Anastasia got this strange look on her face while scrolling through her phone. I asked her what was up, and she tried to brush it off, but I could tell something was wrong. So, I grabbed her phone, rude, but blamed the meds, and found a post of Richard at a party with his old flame, Katie, with the caption boasting about being finally free from the needy drama queen. I just froze. 4 years of putting up with all his crap, and here I am in a hospital bed, and that's how he sees me? The kicker? Our mutual friends were chiming in with comments like, "Glad you're happy, bro, and you deserve better." Meanwhile, no one thought to say, "Hey, isn't your girlfriend in the hospital?" I didn't bother reaching out to him, just digested it all. And while I did, I remembered something crucial: my name was the only one on that lease. So, I got strategic. Called the landlord, my brother, my cousin, and cooked up a plan. Yesterday, while I was still crashing at Anastasia's, Richard came over a few times, clueless about what was happening. Enter phase 1. My brother and his co-workers helped pack up all of Richard's stuff, every single thing from crusty socks to his precious Funko Pop collection and gaming setup, and tossed it all into the dumpster behind our apartment. Yeah, the dumpster, not the recycling bin. So he could, decompose with his beloved trash. Harsh? Maybe. But he hadn't paid rent in 3 months, and I'd been working extra gigs to cover for him while he was supposedly job hunting. And get this, rather than visiting me in the hospital, Richard had been interviewing for a job I helped him line up through my connections. The job was supposed to start next week, or, well, not anymore. Let's just say the hiring manager is my old college roomie's brother, and he got some eye-opening info about Richard's track history, complete with screenshots of those lovely social media posts. So, this morning started with a flurry of texts from Richard after his needy girlfriend landed in the hospital. My phone was basically blowing up with messages like, "Where's my stuff? You can't do this to me. All my valuable collectibles are there. You'll pay for this." But then he flipped the script, all like, "Baby, I'm so sorry. I was just drunk. Katie doesn't mean anything. I was stressed out. Call me, I love you." Yeah, right. But the real kicker? Richard's mom chimed in too. She's treated me like I'm super lucky to be with her baby boy from the start. She called me, sobbing, saying I need to rethink what I've done. Apparently, Richard told her about my other crime, aka the job thing, and how I'm being mean, but whatever. 4 years of supporting someone who couldn't visit me more than once when I was in the hospital? Who celebrated being free from me while I learned to use crutches? Nah, no regrets. The lease is up next month, and I'm out. Moving in with my friend Anastasia until I find a fresh start, with furniture not stained by Richard's endless gaming. Oh, and for those wondering, I'm not sweating legal stuff. My cousin says Richard has no legal leg to stand on since his name's not on anything and he's not contributed a cent. I've got all the receipts. Healing-wise, I've got 6 more weeks in this cast, but my ribs are on the mend. And to those asking why I stuck around, let's just say love makes you do dumb things. He wasn't always a total mess, and the good times made me overlook the trashy ones. Classic, right? I'll update you soon on the fallout. Richard's mom's called 17 times now, leaving all sorts of dramatic voicemails. Richard tried to show up at our place, but surprise. The locks are changed. Update time. Wow, I didn't think my last post would blow up like it did. Thanks for all the support and legal tips, folks. So, about Richard's mom, her calls are now at 43. I finally picked up on call 44, hoping to end the madness. Picture this, me, chilling in Anastasia's guest bed, broken leg propped up, snacking on sour cream and onion chips, because stress eating equals love language, while Richard's mom, Deborah, alternated between crying, guilt tripping, and threatening me for 28 minutes. Highlights include, Richard's been a mess, crying nonstop funny, I once cried for 2 days in the hospital, and guess who wasn't there? Then there's her rant about the worth of those baseball card collectibles, as if Richard ever pitched in for rent or bills. He was gonna propose, you know, she said, unless that ring was made of busted promises and unpaid bills, I doubt it. And when she mentioned pressing charges for property damage, I reminded her that's not happening, thanks to my cousin's legal advice. And Richard told her I controlled finances and isolated him? I laughed so hard, almost popped a stitch. I could tell her plenty about the $3,000 he borrowed for a business opportunity that was just crypto nonsense or the $17,000 in debt I racked up. But when I asked her when Richard last paid rent, there was radio silence. She said we had an arrangement, yeah, more like I paid for everything while he gamed. I laid it all out for her, about the overtime, the weekend work, and the nonsense I put up with. Alright, let's break down this whole situation with Richard and my grandma's jewelry. Last year, I had to sell my grandma's jewelry just to cover the rent because Richard swore he had some cash coming in, which, surprise surprise, never showed up. When I told her, it was like I could hear her worldview shattering over the phone. She eventually said, but Richard told me he's been supporting you. He said you lost your job and he's been taking care of you financially. Which is kind of funny because I've been at the same job for 6 years and even got promoted twice. Meanwhile, Richard has had, no joke, like 7 jobs in 4 years, and none lasted more than 3 months. But I didn't bother bringing all this up. Instead, I just said I'd send her the bank statements, rent receipts, and even some text messages that would clear things up. Oh, and I also mentioned his lovely social media updates he posted while I was laid up in the hospital, which she had no clue about. The conversation ended with her saying she'd talk to Richard and get back to me. Spoiler, she never did. Funny how these things go, right? Now, let me rewind and fill you in on the epic saga of getting rid of Richard's stuff, because I know plenty of you are curious for the juicy details. There I was, unable to move around much thanks to my broken leg, so my brother Dylan came to the rescue. He and a couple of his buddies showed up on their day off to lend a hand, not for free, though, because unlike Richard, some of us know you should pay people for their work. We started off by packing up all Richard's so-called treasures, his gaming setup with the 3 monitors and the custom PC that cost him $2,800 when he was between jobs, his collectible figurines still in their boxes because he thought they'd be worth more someday, and all his signed sports memorabilia that he wouldn't let me hang up because they didn't match the decor. He never even paid for his craft beer collection, which had bottles dating back to when we first got together. So, after about 4 hours of what felt like doing an archaeological dig into the life of an overgrown child, finding random socks under the couch, half-eaten chips stashed in the bedside table, and receipts for stuff I had no idea about, we were done. When Dylan picked up Richard's so-called throne, his gaming chair, and carried it to the dumpster like he was getting rid of a cursed object, I had to laugh. We didn't destroy a thing, didn't cut up his clothes or smash any electronics, just moved them to the dumpster where they belonged. I did keep a box of important stuff, though, like his birth certificate, social security card, some family photos, and a folder of medical records. I handed that over to the landlord, who's totally got my back after I explained everything, showed him the social media posts, and he even helped me change the locks. Speaking of, the landlord told me Richard came by twice yesterday, trying to get in, and the second time, he threatened to call the cops. He vanished real quick when the landlord suggested they call together to explain how Richard hadn't paid rent in months. It's wild how quickly some people scatter when you shine a light on their nonsense, right? Now, about the other thing. So, remember how I said Richard was starting a new job? He landed it, thanks to a connection through my network. It was with a financial services company where he'd be handling client accounts, specifically financial planning. The problem? Richard planning finances is a joke. This is the guy who overdrew his account buying a video game, then did it again the next day because he forgot about the first one. So, I reached out to a friend's brother and shared some pretty concerning evidence, screenshots of Richard's social media posts, super unprofessional, his non-existent rental payment history, and some texts where he bragged about gaming the system to dodge bills. Was this petty? Maybe. But think about it, would you want someone who can't remember to pay his electric bill managing your retirement fund? I didn't lie or stretch the truth, just laid out the facts about his character and financial habits. What they decided to do with that info was up to them. Spoiler alert, they took back the job offer. And that brings us to today. Richard's now moved from sending angry texts to sending me lengthy, sappy emails, like, paragraphs long, about how he's been soul-searching, realizing his mistakes, and wants to patch things up. He claims those posts with Katie were all just for show, saying they're just friends and he acted out because he was scared of losing me after my accident. According to his emails, he's turned over a new leaf, ready to be supportive and actually contribute this time. Sure, it only took a car crash that nearly killed me, 4 years of financially leeching off me, public social media humiliation, losing all his stuff, having his job offer revoked, and being exposed to his mom. What a deal for personal growth. Oh, and Richard's college buddy Remy reached out. Apparently, Richard's been crashing on his couch, crying a lot, and cooking up some big gesture to win me back. I thanked Remy for the heads up and asked him to keep me posted if Richard pulls any stunts. Hey everyone. So, get this, whenever anyone mentions something about Remy, they both agree and even apologize for not realizing what kind of person Richard truly is. Turns out, Richard owes Remy money too. I was absolutely floored, like, seriously, just over all the drama. Physically, I'm still exhausted from the accident, but emotionally, I feel something I haven't in ages, relief. It's like I've been lugging around this heavy backpack for years, and suddenly it's gone. My shoulders literally feel lighter. Tomorrow, I've got a follow-up appointment for my leg, and then Anastasia and I are diving into some online apartment hunting since my lease ends in 30 days. Can't wait to hit refresh on my life. Thanks for sticking with me through this endless saga. I'll keep you updated if anything big happens. Especially if Richard tries one of his grand gestures, it'll either be hilariously inappropriate, ridiculously cheap, or somehow make everything about him. Possibly all three. Oh, a quick edit, lots of people asked about my car. It was totaled in the accident, but insurance is covering it. I'm still waiting on the payout and leaning on Anastasia and rideshare apps for getting around. Another note for those worried Richard might come after me, no worries there. My apartment has security cameras, Anastasia's building has a doorman, and Richard's basically all talk. He crumbles at any sign of real conflict. And now for another update from your revenge-loving internet friend. Grab your popcorn and top off that wine. The drama train isn't stopping anytime soon. First off, thanks to those who inquired about my health, the follow-up went well, and my leg is healing nicely. Might even get this giant cast off in 4 weeks instead of 6. My ribs hurt when I laugh too hard, which is a struggle, given the recent events. Now, on to what you've been waiting for. Richard's grand gesture was exactly what I expected, totally underwhelming and all about him. Yesterday afternoon, I was chilling at Anastasia's, browsing apartments, when her doorman called. There was a delivery for me, which was unexpected. Anastasia, being the best, went down for me, remember, stairs plus broken leg equals no thanks, and returned with the weirdest look on her face. She was holding a compost bin, yes, a literal bin full of dirt, worms, and what looked like kitchen leftovers. On top was a note that said, like compost, our love can break down and rebuild into something stronger. I'm decomposing my old self to become the man you deserve. Please give us another chance to grow together. Seriously, who compares love to rotting food? Anastasia and I cracked up so hard I needed extra pain meds for my ribs. She snapped a picture of me next to this bucket of dirt, looking utterly confused, and posted it on Instagram with the caption, "When your BFF's ex thinks worms are the way to a woman's heart." Thankfully, she tagged me but not him. But wait, there's more. Inside the compost was a small velvet box with a ring, covered in dirt. It was obviously fake, the diamond was plastic, and the gold was turning my skin green just from holding it. Plus, it had a date engraved inside, April 12, 2021. Fun fact, that's his ex-girlfriend's birthday. So Richard gave me a recycled ring meant for someone else, in a compost bin. Talk about on-the-nose symbolism. I texted him, the compost bin is exactly where our relationship belongs, breaking down among the worms and garbage. He responded with a flood of texts, saying the ring was temporary until he could afford a real one, and that date was when he first realized he loved me. I didn't reply, but Anastasia, my hero, took the compost bin to the dumpster and sent him a video of her dumping it out. Oh, and remember how I sent all those receipts and records to Richard's mom, Deborah? She finally got back to me with a novel-length email. She worked through the 5 stages of grief in real time: denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and finally acceptance. She's apologizing now, saying she had no clue what was really going on and regrets enabling him. Talk about a roller coaster. Wow, so get this, Deborah actually apologized to me, like a real apology. My son, Williams, is practically perfect, so we should remember this day. Deborah even called me, just once this time, not 43 times, and spilled some seriously wild tea. Apparently, Richard's been telling his whole family that he's been financially supporting me for years, saying I'm unstable and jobless. He even lied about the apartment, claiming it was his and that he was doing me a favor by letting me stay there. Oh, and the car that got totaled? He said it was his and that he was just letting me borrow it. He's been hitting up his family for cash, saying it's because I have a spending problem. The dude's been spinning lies on lies, he should have been a writer or something. Deborah was clearly embarrassed and upset, and she told me she'd given Richard over $15,000 in the past 2 years for supposed emergencies that she now realizes were all fake. She kept apologizing for her earlier messages and said she needed some time to wrap her head around everything. I actually felt kind of bad for her, she's been just as fooled by Richard as I was, if not more. I told her I didn't blame her at all, and Richard can be pretty convincing when he wants to be. We ended the chat with her saying something chilling: I love my son, but he needs to face the music this time. I won't bail him out again. It felt like actual progress. Now, a lot of you have been asking what else I was up to besides dealing with the job and the whole dumpster thing. Well, remember those credit cards? I ran up $17,000 in debt because of Richard, and guess what? Turns out, 3 of those were joint accounts he opened using my info to boost his own credit, and he never made any payments. I've been working with my bank and a financial advisor to get these accounts separated and to figure out which charges were his. It's taking a while, but I've been able to prove that about $11,000 of that debt is his doing. I didn't just send this info to his possible future boss, I sent it to his parents, his brother, and our mutual friends with a note that said, if Richard asks to borrow money or crash at your place, this is what you can expect. Is this a bit petty? Maybe, but it's also the truth, and the truth's a great way to clean out toxic situations. Even Katie, that ex from social media, hit me up on Instagram. She was like, I had no idea you ended up in the hospital. Richard said you'd broken up months ago. I'm so sorry. Months ago? We were living together until my accident. This guy and his wild stories. I replied nicely, told Katie I didn't blame her, and she said Richard had been messaging her for weeks before the party, claiming we were on a break and he was ready to move on. She felt terrible and offered to send me screenshots of their chats, but I said no thanks, no need to dive into that mess, but I appreciated her honesty. Then, Richard showed up at Anastasia's building last night. The doorman wouldn't let him up, which is definitely deserving of a gift basket. Richard made a scene in the lobby, yelling that he just wants to talk and clear things up. He left before the cops showed up after being called. Then he called me 37 times in 2 hours, each voicemail more desperate than the last, saying he can explain everything, it's all a misunderstanding, he was going to pay me back, and that I'm ruining his life. He even said he's sleeping in his car, but come on, his car was repossessed months ago. The last voicemail worried me enough that I called for a wellness check. The cops said he was just emotional but fine, and they suggested he get some mental health help. Remy texted later, saying Richard wasn't staying there anymore because he found out Richard stole $200 from his wallet. He changed the locks. Wow, just wow. Even in a crisis, the guy can't stop taking what isn't his. So, here we are. Richard's apparently sofa surfing with people he barely knows, his family's not helping him out, his friends are dropping him, job options are slim, and he's pretty much lost everything, including his reputation. As for me, I'm on the mend, both my leg and my heart. I found a potential apartment across town that's cheaper than my current place. Anastasia's been amazing, My family's been super supportive, and my job's been really understanding about my recovery. I'm still mad, still hurt, but mostly relieved, like I've been underwater for so long and finally came up for air. My next update will probably be my last since I'm focusing on moving forward instead of looking back. Hey everyone. I just wanted to say a huge thank you for all your support, advice, and hilarious comments. Seriously, this community has been an unexpected lifeline for me during one of the toughest parts of my life. So, here's my final update on the whole saga of Richard the Compost King and how I've finally managed to grow and thrive after being buried under his nonsense for 4 years. First off, the practical stuff. I moved into my new apartment yesterday. It's smaller than my old place, but it has a tiny balcony where I've already started a little container garden. Plus, there's an elevator, which is a lifesaver with my broken leg situation, and security cameras, which are super important because of the ex-boyfriend drama. Oh, and my cast came off 2 weeks early. I'm in a walking boot now, and physical therapy is no joke. I sweat more there than I ever did at the gym. But I can move around on my own now, which is such a relief. Also, my car insurance finally came through, so I bought a used but trusty Ford that I've named Freedom. Yeah, it's cheesy, but I'm embracing it. Now, for the juicy details about Richard. After my last update, things got even crazier before they finally calmed down. Richard tried his usual crying, begging, and guilt-tripping, but when that didn't work, he went for a new low, public shaming. He set up a GoFundMe titled Homeless After Girlfriend's Revenge and made up this wild story about me stealing his money and trashing family heirlooms. He even posted pics of himself looking all sad on a couch that was obviously Remy's, where he'd been crashing until Remy kicked him out. He claimed he needed $5,000 to get back on track. The whole thing lasted about 6 hours before it got shut down, thanks to my awesome friends and my brother Dylan, who reported it for fraud. People even posted links to my Reddit posts to call him out. After the public shaming backfired, Richard showed up at my old place, causing such a scene that the police got involved. I was safe at Anastasia's, thank goodness. He was yelling about defamation and demanding to be let in to get his stuff. The cops showed up, and Richard made this hilarious attempt to convince them he lived there. Big fail when the landlord confirmed he wasn't on the lease. Neighbors backed me up, saying they knew I lived alone, and when the cops checked his ID, they found out he had an outstanding warrant for unpaid traffic tickets. So, Richard got arrested, not for the scene he caused, but for $1,200 worth of tickets he'd hidden from me by intercepting the mail. He spent 2 nights in jail before his brother, not his mom interestingly, bailed him out. According to mutual friends, getting arrested was a real wake-up call for Richard. He's now living with his brother, paying rent, working at his brother's company, and most importantly, he stopped contacting me altogether. It's been quiet, like, shockingly quiet. No more 3 a.m. voicemails or long emails about how he's changed, or any compost-based relationship metaphors. At first, I thought it might be some new tactic, but his brother checked in with me and said Richard is genuinely trying to get his life together. Maybe his therapist told him to cut it out. On the mental and emotional front, I've been seeing a therapist too, thanks, workplace insurance. We're unpacking some hard truths, like how I stayed with Richard not just because I loved him, but because fixing his problems gave me a sense of purpose. I ignored so many red flags because I was scared of being alone, and I kept bailing him out, which just enabled his behavior. I had such low self-esteem that I thought his half-hearted affection was all I deserved. These realizations have been tough, and there have been sessions where I've cried until my ribs hurt, but it's the first step in breaking these patterns. Finally, I had an unexpected moment of closure with Richard's mom, Deborah. She invited me for lunch at a restaurant that had a ramp for my leg, a level of thoughtfulness Richard never showed. We had a surprisingly honest conversation where she apologized for not seeing what was happening and for raising a son who thought treating partners this way was okay. She even opened up about Richard's father having similar issues before their divorce, worrying that she had unintentionally normalized financial irresponsibility and emotional manipulation. I ended up comforting her, which was oddly healing for both of us. So, that's it. I'm turning the page and moving forward, more focused on myself and what I truly deserve. Thanks again for being there, everyone. So, it was clear that she really cared and was trying hard to stop supporting Richard's behavior. After lunch, she gave me an envelope with $2,000 in cash, saying, "This doesn't even start to cover what he owes you, but it's the best I can do right now." At first, I tried not to take it, but she insisted, "This isn't from Richard, it's from me. I feel like I failed as a mom if I raised someone who'd treat you like this." So, I took the money and used it to deck out my new apartment, kicking off a fresh start, free from any trace of Richard. A big shout out to all the amazing people on Reddit for being there through this chapter of my life. Your support, advice, and even the occasional tough love kept me strong when I felt like giving up. You reminded me that I deserve better, even when I forgot.